What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Tastes Like Music. Jason and Joe here. Today we are doing a classic album review. Today, talking about the 1999 album When the Pawn by Fiona Apple. If you've not seen this channel before, we used to have a series called Album of the Year. When the Pawn was my winner for 1999. So, Cat was already out of the bag as far as my feelings on this record. Did it make your top five too?
It did. I think it actually made all three of ours. I might be mistaken on Crams, or I feel like though it did. It was one of the last albums probably that made all three of our lists.
Yes. So this was her sophomore record produced by John Bryan, and it's following this sort of tumultuous period after Tidal. She was faced with a lot of media scrutiny, uh, criticism over her video for Criminal, and her famous award show speech where she said the world is shit, which was awesome. So yeah, I like Fiona a lot. I enjoy all of her records, but for me, this was her peak.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I enjoy all of her records except Vegetable Cutters, which I didn't really care for that much. But whatever, that's much later. Criminal was my song of the year in '96 as well. And I think Tidal made my top five in '96. So, really like Fiona Apple at first and then less so after, but I do think When the Pawn is a pretty fantastic record. It's interesting. I went back, I always look to see what people thought of it when it came out. Surprisingly, it had like middling reviews, like good reviews, but not like great reviews. Definitely less than I would have expected for an album that's like now considered like one of the classics of all time. It was on Rolling Stone's top 500. I think closer to like 100 than 500. So I think now it's viewed as a classic of the genre and very influential and just a great record. But it's always weird going back and seeing, and I think it's just sexism, to be honest, that kind of, let people give this album like, NME gave it a 5 out of 10, and The Guardian gave it 3 stars, and it's just interesting to see that because I think now we can all agree that it's a classic.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think not only, I mean, possibly and probably a little sexism, but also some ageism. I think if she was slightly older, if she was like in her 30s, people would have taken it more seriously. But I think they felt like because she was so young that it was just kind of like this melodramatic uh, diary entry type, like not serious emotion. But I think from title to this, I think she does a good job of like proving those sorts of thoughts wrong. You want to talk about the songwriting on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the songwriting here is really good. I think it's a big step up over Title in full. I might like Criminal more than any other song that she ever did, but I think as a whole, the songwriting here is much better. I think it's mature lyrically, mature for her age, mature for any singer-songwriter, really. It's interesting. I think she has her own style. It's very wordy, and she flies off into like a lot of different kind of flights of fancy, but it's all grounded in reality and relationships and stuff like that. And there was one review in particular that I saw that said she's just a Tori Amos knockoff. And like that couldn't be further from what this album is. Like you she's very grounded in reality and she doesn't have a lot of like weird metaphors and stuff that she throws in. Like it's very much like real life, which I think should be appreciated and sort of set her apart from her peers back then. She fits in a lot of words, but like it's all I don't know, it's all real stuff, and she's not like flying off into fairy tales and stuff like that. And I just think it's interesting. Like I don't know how unique her point of view on a relationship is. Like she's kind of depressed and mad about a lot of stuff and angry, but she sings it and she writes it in ways that are just not what you would hear from anyone else. And I think that I don't know if it was totally unique, but like it was unique enough for the time that made it seem like something different.
Yeah, I don't, yeah. Subject wise, maybe not the most um, unique or different, but I think she had a unique ability to kind of she was like an open channel from her emotion to like the page and to the piano, and like I think the you can feel like the intensity of what she's feeling just like coming straight through her. And she's like not filtering her feelings or her thoughts. It's just like coming out as what it is. In that way, it doesn't feel like super labored over the songwriting. It feels just like this is what I felt in the moment, and this is what the song is. So yeah, I think the songwriting's great. I love pretty much every song. So picking worst song on this one will be difficult, but yeah, all the songs are so good. The production, John Bryan producing. I don't know if he's coming straight off of EXO for this, but uh,
Yeah, I mean, he kills it. The production's amazing. And it really, I mean, I think Fiona Apple's a melodic enough songwriter that like the songs would stand up without John Bryan's production. But the album's just so much, that much better because of John Bryan's maximalist production in a way that kind of reminds me of EXO. There's strings and he's got kind of like this modern meets Rodgers and Hammerstein kind of mentality that these songs that are pretty theatrical in the way Fiona Apple sings them, she's kind of like up and down, and like you could see this being like a Broadway stage show or something like that. And I think Brian does a great job of accentuating that aspect, but also throwing in sort of, some electronic textures and things to tie it to modern 1999 time frame. There's not a lot of quiet, sparse bits where there's nothing going on, but there are parts where, Fiona Apple's not singing that he keeps alive and keeps going with some elements and some, there's a Matt Chamberlain kind of drum solo break part that feels like alive and necessary instead of just sort of, fluff and something that they just threw on because they didn't have anything else to say. I just think everything on this album is there for a reason, and there's none of that like just extra stuff that we didn't know what to do with. It's very purposeful.
yeah, and we were just talking about the David Gray record and like the production sounding good and sounding like professional, but needing something to like make it stand out. And I think I mentioned in that video that John Bryan would have maybe been a better producer choice for that record. And that's what he does here. He takes like what could be like viewed as just like a basic singer-songwriter record and lifts it and kind of makes it more than that through the production. But he also doesn't step on the songs, like you said. I think the songs still hold up. They're great songs. He doesn't like ruin them or make try to make them like into pop or make them more modern than they need to be. But he just like elevates the whole thing a little bit, which is excellent. The musicianship on this.
Musicianship sounds great. John Bryan plays a lot of the instruments and he plays them very well. Mike Elizondo plays the bass. Well, he's kind of a R&B rap kind of bassist, which is cool. Amongst other million other things, he's just a great bass player in general. Matt Chamberlain on drums, who's played with everybody, and he's a fantastic drummer. And I like all the piano. I like Fiona Apple's kind of heavy-handed piano style. It's theatrical and big. And yeah, I mean, I don't really have any complaints about any of the playing here.
Yeah, all the playing's great. And just to add to that, her singing. She is one of my favorite singers of the last 30 years. I think she is uh, not given enough credit for how good of a singer she is. I think one of like the masters of this era.
Yeah, she is a fantastic singer. I probably haven't mentioned that, but I really like the way that all of her melodies seem very complex and advanced, and they all kind of have a roundabout way of getting to the hook, but they all have really good hooks too. Like her vocals are really pretty and just draw you in. And she can do it in a lot of different ways, either being like playful and sultry or like sort of um, direct and pointed on a song like Fast as You Can or Limp, but also kind of whimsical on a song like Paper Bag. And I think that's impressive that she can kind of do all of that.
Favorite song, least favorite song. Got anything?
I mean, favorite song, I always liked Paper Bag. A Mistake's great, Limp's great, the opener on the Bound is great. I mean, they're all pretty great, and I really don't have a worse song at all. I mean, maybe Fast as You Can might be my least favorite song, but still a really good song. I don't know. There's really no good answer for worst song here.
Yeah. Maybe Get Gone would be my choice. I think Love Ridden's my favorite, perhaps, but it's tight. They're all top notch. Your score.
I've always been 4.5 stars for this one. It's not my favorite era for music in general. I don't have any 5 stars for 98 or 99. So 4.5. 4.5. I think it's like I don't know if it was my second or third favorite of the year, but it holds up, I think, as one or two or three. It could pass Euphoria Morning for my top spot 99. I'm not sure, but 4.5 for me.
It's a five for me. Yep. I got a couple fives in 99, but this being my favorite. All right, there you go. Let us know what you think of Fiona Apple When the Pawn. If you don't know it, go check it out. It's a must listen. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Check our video description for Patreon merch, our record label that we recently launched, and all that other stuff. What did I forget? Whatever. Go.
Social media, I don't know, Patreon, Discord, who knows, all that stuff. It's the
Okay.
same as it ever was.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.